On the Reconciling Marriages with Coach Jack podcast, Christian psychologist, author, and relationship coach Dr. Jack Ito will help you to build and restore your marriage. By learning just a few relationship skills, you can help your spouse enjoy your relationship more while getting more love and affection from your spouse. Listen to Coach Jack as he helps you with one more step toward a marriage both you and your spouse will love.
Is your spouse resistant to going on dates with you and never satisfied when you do? I want to give you a way to create in your spouse a desire to date you. In my first meeting with clients, I ask 3 questions that tell me how emotionally connected their marriage is. 1 is about how often they go on dates. 1 is about whether they spend daily one-on-one time together. And the 3rd is whether they both enjoy their sexual relationship. These are the main maintenance behaviors for a romance-based marriage. To keep a marriage good, we need to not only do these things, we need to enjoy them as well. Dating in marriage is essential, not optional. When we don't enjoy dating, one-on-one time, or sex with our spouse, our relationship deteriorates. We become roommates or business partners at best. Working on improving dating, one-on-one time, and your sexual relationship is the work of keeping a good marriage. For people who already have an emotionally disconnected marriage, we need to work on the obstacles to these 3 connection activities. Before people start working with me, they usually try to do activities with their spouse they haven't done in years. Then they get distance and rejection. If that is your situation, then you will need to learn the same thing that they do. You can't start to build a relationship from the point of what you should have been doing. You need to start where your partner is emotionally and build up to the point of doing what you should be doing. If you and your spouse have not dated for a while, you may need to build your relationship at home before you try going out with your spouse. Success always entails taking the right steps in the right order. The right time to ask your spouse out on a date is after your spouse has the desire to go out on a date with you. It's your job to create that desire. It helps to have the mindset of a single person. If you were single and you wanted to take someone on a date or to have them take you on a date, most likely you would be treating that person really well. You would have a good attitude whenever you were together, and you would work to be similar by sharing common interest, by agreeing, and by empathizing. You would also make that person feel important by valuing what he or she said, by complimenting what they did, and by admiring their abilities. Many of the people who are having no dates or bad dates with their spouse are doing very few of these things. Some people are doing none of them. I don't know about you, but I have no desire to go out with someone who is different from me and makes me feel unimportant or wrong. If you're not validating your spouse, you will need to gradually shift to doing so regularly and away from any kind of conflict and negative attitude towards your spouse. How long you will need to do that before you can date your spouse will depend on how distant you and your spouse currently are. Some people are unable to validate their spouse because of some kind of severe behavior their spouse has. In that case, they need to learn how to deal with their spouse's behavior first. If you are in that situation, consider coaching to learn how to get your spouse to change. If that's not your situation, then listen on for what you can do right now. You can learn how to understand dating refusal or complaints. Asking your spouse why questions is typically not going to get you any useful information and often leads to conflict. My advice, don't take the complaint at face value. Most complaints are excuses rather than real reasons. People often don't say the real reason why they don't like something because either they don't know or their reason is selfish and they don't want to admit to it. Pressuring people for reasons will get you excuses, which can be misleading. As a coach, I have a mental checklist of reasons a spouse may be resisting dating. I then look at evidence from interactions in the client's relationship to determine the likely reason. Here is a checklist of the most common reasons for dating refusal, resistance, or even downright sabotage. Possible reason number 1. Your spouse gets too much time with you at home, which reduces desire for more time together. Possible reason 2. Your dating activities don't interest your spouse. Possible reason 3. Your spouse is concerned about the financial cost of dating. Possible reason 4. Your spouse doesn't feel treated like a date when you go on dates. Possible reason 5. Your spouse is anxious about leaving the children. Possible reason 6. Your spouse has unresolved anger toward you. And possible reason 7. Your spouse is having an affair and wants to maintain emotional distance to justify the affair. These are not the only reasons. There are many possibilities. These are just some very common reasons. Your spouse is not likely to admit to any of these things except for the reason about the children. Somehow it doesn't bother people to say that. Instead of admitting to these things, your spouse will complain about the activity or possibly say they're not feeling well or claim to need to do other things. If you complain about your spouse's reluctance to date, it will only make your spouse want to date you even less. Lesson here, memorization point, you can never complain yourself to a better relationship. You can never complain yourself to a better relationship. Each of the reasons for not wanting to date has a solution. Although you may want to talk with your spouse or work with your spouse in marriage counseling to improve your relationship, counseling most often magnifies differences and problems. The only time to work cooperatively is when you both want the same thing. If you and your spouse both want to improve your dating, then working together makes sense. If talking with your spouse will just cause more conflict, then you can do the same work that any single person would do to have more and better dates. To have more success with dating in marriage, you need to use the same skills that successful single people use. Much of the work of marriage is maintaining the same kind of relationship we had when we were first dating. That means being attractive and connecting well. Being attractive promotes dating desire. Make sure that you are appearing and behaving in an attractive way. Although most people think in terms of physical features when they think of being attractive, it's much more than that. Being attractive means both appearing and behaving in such a way that another person wants to be with you. If you were to make a dating profile with a photo and a description of your daily routine, would many people choose to date you over others? If not, then you have some work to do in terms of attracting your spouse. If you think many people would be attracted by your appearance and your lifestyle, then perhaps what you need to work on most is connection skills. You can learn how to use good connection skills to get repeated dates and to keep your spouse desiring to go out with you on more dates. Many single people have trouble getting repeat dates with the same person, even if they can attract them for first dates. This issue is really the same as it is for a married person who is attractive, yet struggles to get their spouse to go on dates. There are two main skills to use for dating connection. Skill 1, effort, preparation, and thoughtfulness. This is required both for single and for married people, as are all good relationship behaviors. If all your dates are last minute, casual, no preparation, let's go out to the same place we always do kind of dates, then your dates will be more of a way to check off the dating box than something to look forward to with anticipation. Good dating requires preparation, planning, and variety, with many small dates, some regular medium dates, and a few special big dates. Part of dating is the anticipation of the date, which means planning in advance. Minimally, we should be dating our spouse once a week. It's not so hard to get 2 or 3 if you think in terms of one medium date and a couple of small ones where you perhaps go for a walk together or go out for coffee. A bigger date would be an overnight or weekend somewhere. Skill number 2, good connection skills. Connection skills are not about listening and showing interest. Some people are great at showing interest and being friendly, yet lousy at connection. Single people like that get one date only. It's an enjoyable date, but that person does not want to go out with them more. That's because connection is about validation and being similar. People who don't get continued dates are often not being similar, even though the activity may be fun, even though they may be listening well. Think about whether you would enjoy spending time with someone who was very different from you, did not validate you, and did not make you feel important. Good dating is not about being yourself. It's about being your best self. This is just as important for married people as for single people. Do you remember how when you used to be single and you went out, you made sure you were your best self? Well, that is what you need to do when you date your spouse too. Let me recap for you the essential skills for good dating with your spouse. The kinds of things that will help your spouse to want to go out with you again and again and again for many years to come. If you can develop the mindset of a single person and treat your spouse accordingly, you can enhance your marriage. That means that you will appear and behave in an attractive way. You will make your spouse feel like you look forward to your every meeting by being consistently friendly. And you will validate your spouse and make your spouse feel important. If this feels like work, it's because it is. It's part of the work of being a good spouse, just like it's part of being a good parent, or a good son or daughter, or brother or sister or friend. That's what we need to do to keep good relationships. However, you do need to make sure you don't spend so much time with your spouse that your spouse takes you for granted or has no more desire for you. Too much togetherness is bad for both single people and married people. You need to be a secure person with your own interests and activities. The hard-to-get behavior of an attractive person with good connection skills can create desire in relationships that seem to have died a long time ago. I know because for more than 25 years, I've been helping people to revive their emotionally distant relationships in just this way. Won't you take the time to learn the skills that can bring both you and your spouse close together again?
Thank you for listening to Reconciling Marriages with Coach Jack. Visit CoachJackIto.com to learn more skills for reconnecting with your spouse and restoring your marriage.